Mike Tomlin is not the logo. I will say that again. Mike Tomlin is not the logo. The Steelers were fine before Mike Tomlin. The Steelers will be fine after Mike Tomlin. Um, and so with that being said, much love and respect to Mike Tomlin. I think he would say the same thing I just said, um, but in his own special way with the Tomlinisms. Uh, I was taken back, like many of you were, with the news. I've been on record for saying that major change needs to happen. Um, you know, and I've said that for the last 3 years, at the very least. Probably been about 4 seasons that I've said it. Because I mean, if you paid attention, it kind of just was like the same script. It was the same thing over and over. We do enough, we get a winning season, and it's like the team just plays different. Last year was probably the gravest like example of that. Dude, like we lost 5 games in a row to end the season last year. Like that's about as low as you can that's about as low as you can be in terms of like finishing off a season. This year we finished the season on a high note. So as a fan, man, thank you, Coach T. Thank you, Coach T. At least Coach T got us one of these on the way out. An AFC North Division title. Truthfully, it should have been 2 years in a row, but it was nice to have it, even if it was for just this year. Um, I see the fan base is like split. It's all over the place right now. Um, Art Rooney II, he was doing a press conference. I'm doing a blind reaction to it. I just knew it was coming at noon, so I wanted to do a reaction to it. But fan base is split all over the place, and sadly, a lot of it's racial. A lot of people, defending Mike Tomlin just because he's black, and I don't think Mike Tomlin would want that. Um, I don't get down like that. I'm all about like what you do as a person, and I stand on that. I'm not changing that. Yeah, I was gonna do a reaction video because I saw somebody even say, "Oh yeah, it's time to move on from Mike Tomlin," but hopefully they get another minority coach in there. Like what? Like what difference does that make? One, like you already said what needed to be said. It's time for a change, but why put the caveat in there that the next coach should be a minority coach? Like it's just people be saying weird stuff, man. People be saying weird stuff. I got nothing but love and admiration for Coach T, but at the same time, if you're objective, you can say it was time for a change. You know, um, I know many people that started rooting for the Steelers just because Mike T was a black coach. I've had that conversation for years actually, and it's just weird to me. So I'm like, you're the only reason why you rooting for the Steelers or even Coach T is because he's black. Like that's kind of I don't understand it. I don't operate that way. I root for somebody because I really like them, and even at the lowest of the low, I was at the Bills game when they was chanting "Fire Tomlin," where they booed Renegade, and we got the socks knocked off of us that week. Um, and I was at the game against the Ravens when they were saying "Fire Canada," so I knew what could happen. From hearing those chants. I had never heard those chants before at games that I had been to. Um, going back like 10 plus years or whatever. I had never heard those chants before, not from our fan base, but I realized that when the Canada chants happened, like major change followed. So yeah, I was a bit surprised still with all this going on. I was a bit surprised. Um, we're gonna see what Art Rooney II here got to say in a second, but I was a bit surprised. Still, because I didn't think that the Steelers would move on from him. And quite frankly, just factually speaking, the Steelers didn't move on from him. Mike Tomlin resigned. Um, so if we look at it from a business perspective, Mike Tomlin did the Steelers a huge favor. If he goes and coaches anywhere else, that franchise, whoever it may be, got to give us compensation. You know what I'm saying, for Mike Tomlin in the terms of like draft picks and that sort of thing. Um, do I think he coaches this year? I don't, because man, if you just look at Coach Tomlin, it looked like he was getting like what they say burnout. It looked like Coach Tomlin was getting burnout. Um, and yeah, that's what it looked like to me. I've seen that in like personal workspaces, like at work and stuff like that. I've almost hit burnout. At one point, my job, I was working 7 days a week, 18-hour shifts, and I did that for like 9 months straight. I did that immediately after my brother passed away. I did it to keep from going into a dark place. I did it just to stay busy. That's really why I did it. Um, and because I had to pay for my brother's funeral out of pocket, um, like 10 plus grand. I did it for that too. But, it began to be like a way for me to stay busy, a way for me to stay out of a dark place. And so towards the end of that 9 months, I was starting to get a little bit of a burnout. Um, but you know, I did it anyway. So that's neither here nor there. But I do believe that Mike Tomlin he probably is burnt out. And whether it's talking on TV and doing stuff like that, rumor came out a couple months ago. So it's like, and to hear that Mike Tomlin might be going on TV, that sort of thing, that rumor came out a couple months ago. But yeah, I think he takes a season. I think he takes some time. There was a lot of rumors going around about Mike Tomlin, and Jason Whitlock actually had a super dope video about that. I'm gonna find that video. Um, but he talked about how once rumors start, that's usually the sign that that coach is he's starting to decline in that franchise or that city. And this year the noise was loud and the chants were louder. So I think that's just how that cookie crumbled. Um, at the same time, I do want to again acknowledge Mike Tomlin for his services. 19 years for a franchise or agency or a job is a long time, and I cannot imagine doing something for 19 years that I didn't love. If you know what I mean, like there has to be some kind of love there. There has to be something there that motivates you to get out the bed and do that every single day. I've had jobs where I don't know how I made it 2 years, let alone somebody doing something for 19 years. I truly believe he loved working for the Steelers organization. Um, and if Mike Tomlin ever hears this, even those of us that even those of us that say, yo, it might be time for a change, that does not subtract from the love that we have for you as a man, as a coach. I do think Tomlin is a good coach. Um, I just think that, it was just time. I mean, and I say that off the strength of I obviously have conversations with a lot of people on my platform. And one thing I asked them was, when did you know it was time to move on from Chuck Noll? And I asked that because, and again, like I said, I've been thinking it was time to change for like 3+ years now. And I asked him that because Chuck Noll, really, we talking about the Steelers. The Steelers, it all starts with Chuck Noll. Those four Super Bowl rings they got. We got six. He got four by himself. And they were just like, man, you could just see like his from his body language, he was just tired. And you saw that the emotion that he once gave, it's almost like he didn't have the energy to do that anymore. And I was like, wow. I was like, that's almost like what we see right now with Tomlin. And that's why I referenced the term burnout, because it gets exhausting at one point. It gets exhausting, and I know he loves the players. I know the locker room loves him, and I even questioned if he lost the locker room at one point this season. But seeing how the team responded, winning four of their last five, they went 4-1 to close out the season. Um, that says everything I need to know right there. They responded, and them responding the way they did, and with a little bit of fortune on our side, we ended up winning the 2025 AFC North division. And so, honestly, if that's my Super Bowl this year, I'll take that. I'll take that. I never stopped going to games. The only time I stopped going to games this year, um, we lost. We actually lost two puppies this year, and Rocky was one. He had a tumor wrapped around his spine, and we we took a couple weeks off too. That was hard, but we had planned on being at every home game. We even went to the Jets game to open the season out. That was fun. Um, and I love going to games. I do love going to games, and yeah, I think talking about my dog uh, really sent me over the edge right there. So I do apologize, but I wish it could have been different. I was ready for a run, man. I was ready for a run. Um, and I got more news to break. One of my followers, I met him during a week 18 matchup against the Ravens. And he was like, "Man, I've been watching you for like 2 years now." And he's like, "I love your content, and I follow you and everything." Um, and we connected and stuff like that. And he said, "Hey, bro," he said, "I do like the color guard and stuff for like the Steelers." And he's like, hey, "If you want, I can get you on the sideline." And I was like, "What?" And I completely forgot about it. I was out doing interviews and stuff like that pregame. He called me. He's like, "Hey, bro, can you get over here by like 7?" I was like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, I can get there." So I did have to cancel a couple interviews, one of which being the young lady that Bree Uha'a, like that she won the tickets for the giveaway that I did. Um, so I had to cancel a couple things, but I'm gonna get Bree on the podcast, and I'm gonna get another homie on the podcast as well, because I canceled like 2 interviews. Um, but man, it was such an experience, man. And to say that I was on the sidelines for Mike T and Aaron Rodgers last game, honestly, like, yeah, we lost, but that was a win. That was a win. You know, I was a huge Aaron Rodgers supporter from Jump Street. Um, I just wish it could have been different. I think we lose. People were like, "Oh yeah, Mike Tomlin players came because of Mike Tomlin," and that's very true. I anticipate us losing players. I anticipate players requesting trades because we have officially entered like a full rebuild. So So yeah, I anticipate all that. And people, oh yeah, I hope y'all ready for a 3-win or 4-win season. Like I said, we were fine before Mike Tomlin, Coach Mike Tomlin, respectfully, and we'll be fine after Coach Mike Tomlin. Like, we are the Pittsburgh Steelers. We have a highly desired landing spot for coaches. That's just what it is. We do. And it's weird that because people want to make it racial, they want to negate that fact. Guess what, homie? You can't negate that. You cannot negate that. People want to come to Pittsburgh to play, to coach. Um, that's just what it is. Those are the facts. I think, and I've said this on record already before too, but I know I have a lot of new subscribers and things like that, new people that see my videos, and I don't have that kind of following. But I said also that I would love for us to get young everywhere, players, coaches, everywhere. One thing that really frustrated me about Mike Tomlin, Coach Mike Tomlin, was I don't feel like he paid it forward the way it was paid forward for him. If you all ever heard the story with Tony Dungy when he was with the Bucks, and he talked about he was looking for like position coaches or coordinators or whatever, and he talked about the biggest thing he wanted to do was get younger at the coaching position because he felt like the younger coaches could reach the players better. And so I look at that situation and I wonder why we never did that. Because, like, usually, like, if you go through something as a person, you understand, like, okay, like, I was always taught, right? When people did stuff for me coming up, like, and I'm saying stuff like, we wouldn't have Christmases if it wasn't for families just being a blessing to my family. We wouldn't have Thanksgivings if it wasn't for families being a blessing to my family. Birthday presents, etc. Whatever you want to insert there, we were poor. We were poor coming up. And the number one thing people always told me to do was to just pay it forward. So even now in the workplace, if people, oh, I need a job or I'm thinking about doing this or doing that, I'll be like, yeah, you can come through my job. You can see if you like it. And I've actually helped several people get employment. You know what I'm saying? Like, I enjoy doing that because a lot of people don't know, yeah, you can do this. You can actually do this and you'll be fly doing it. You know what I mean? Like, and I was really, so when I say initially, my thinking was we need a major change. I'm thinking Mike Tomlin's going to hire, like, get rid of like the older coordinators, position coaches, whatever, and just get younger. The only person that deserved to stay to me was Danny Smith. That's it. So I was thinking Mike Tomlin would have got younger at coordinator position, at position coach positions, and just go from there. But like I said, man, he was probably just burnt out. But I would have really liked to have seen that before the burnout. Like, before the burnout, I would have loved to have seen that. Because I really feel like that's the key. Like, when you look at some of these head coaches, man, like, if you go back and look at what the Washington Commanders had on the coaching staff at the same time, like, I think it was under Riviera or whatever his name was, like, at the same time, bro. Like, it's just like, dude, a couple of those guys are head coaches or have been head coaches or significant pieces on teams, and I just feel as though we missed that window. We missed that window. So I would have loved to have seen Mike T do that before the burnout. But with all that being said, like I said before, it's nothing but respect to Coach T. You know, I hope he. I hope if he does get a coaching job, it's out of conference. Like just being real with you. Um, I hope that I just wish him the best as a man. Forget coaching. I wish Coach T the best as a man because it's hard. It's hard being a man in this world in this life is hard. So I can't imagine what he's going through right now. But he did decide to step down, and I totally respect that decision. And even though this might come off a bit somber, I am excited for what is to come. And lastly, before I get into this press conference, I just want to say I think a lot of people are scared of change. I've seen that, just living on this earth. A lot of people are scared of change. Um, some people are scared to leave a job. Some people are scared to get out of a relationship, whether it be a marriage or a significant other or a friendship that is completely toxic. Some people are scared to relocate, move cities, try something different. Whatever it may look like, people are scared of change. And right now, I'm encouraging Steeler Nation to embrace the change. It might look bad at first, but let's reference the New England Patriots right here. You know, they won 6 rings recently. Won 6 rings. Most of us have seen them win all 6 of those rings. They fired the coach that got them the 6 rings because he had a losing season. They hired another coach, Mayo. It didn't work out. They let him go after like 2 seasons. And they hired a new coach. And so I bring that up because people, and I don't question people's fanhood, right? But people wishing the Steelers like worse or like bad, I don't think you're really a Steeler fan. Because at the end of the day, like I said, opening all this up, Coach T is not the logo. He will tell you he's not the logo. Okay? But people are acting like because we don't have Coach T, we're going to be the Cleveland Browns. Or I would say or worse, but there is nothing worse. There is nothing worse. And I just don't think that's true. We have stability as a franchise, as an organization since 1970. This upcoming coach will be the 4th head coach we have had since 1970. Pittsburgh is highly desirable too because Pittsburgh is a sports town. There's not a lot of distractions in Pittsburgh. You got to go looking for the distractions in Pittsburgh. It's not like a LA or New York or Miami. Like, you know what I mean? Like, Pittsburgh is a sports town. Like, even in the summertime, like I remember I go there for the summertime. They have like different tournaments, baseball, basketball, whatever. I think I even saw like a hockey tournament one year, and I'm just like, what the heck? Like, so yeah, like Pittsburgh is a sports town, and that limits distractions. You know what I mean? So, and Pittsburgh as a franchise has built their brand up to where they are known for stability. They're known for giving their coaches a chance. They're known for working with you and taking time to build and really fortify something that can, become successful. So, I really, people gonna still do it, but I don't really understand those people that say, "Oh yeah, we're gonna suck for the next 5 years, or even next year we're gonna win 3 games." I don't think we win 3 games next year because I think we still have a decent roster. There are guys under contract, and if guys want to leave that are under contract, guess what we're gonna get? Draft picks, and guess where the draft is? It's in Pittsburgh. We already got like 12 draft picks already for the draft. So if guys start requesting trades and demanding trades, we only get more draft picks. That's just what it is. I'm a big believer in mental health. But if Mike Tomlin did go somewhere this year, let's say the Giants. Giants had the number 5 draft pick. The Raiders have the number 1 draft pick this year. When's the last time Pittsburgh has had the number 1 or number 5 draft pick? It's been a long time. So yeah, on that note, I brought out my Steelers shot glass to Coach T, man. To Coach T, man. 19 seasons is a long time. I thank you for the memories. You know, even though we didn't win anything, the Killer B era was my favorite era. The Killer B era was absolutely my favorite era. Because that was Coach T's doing. That was him. That was his team. AB is my third favorite Steeler, behind the bus and behind Big Ben. And you know, I just really wish we could have kept him and Le'Veon. I wish we had a shot. AB ended up getting the ring with Tampa, but I wish he would have got that with us, man. So yeah, it's a lot of emotions around all of this, but you know, I tell anyone, change is good. Change is good. So, to Coach T, blessings, Godspeed, all the good things in life, bro. I'm wishing it all for you. And as a fan base, we thank you, bro. Blessings. So, that's that. And let's check out what Art Rooney got to say, man. Let's check it out.
As you know, yesterday Coach Tomlin and I met, and Mike informed me of his decision to step down as head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. And it was an emotional day for everybody in our organization yesterday. Mike's been a great leader of our franchise now for 19 years and led us with toughness, integrity, and always reflected the values of our organization.
Already, I can see that he's holding back. He's emotional. It's love. It's love for Mike Tomlin, man. Like, we understand change happens. We understand business, but some people see it before others, and that doesn't mean that we don't love Coach T. You know, we kind of just saw the writing on the wall, and I could tell right here that Art Rooney II is emotional.
I think you all know his many accomplishments, 2 Super Bowl appearances, 1 Super Bowl victory, many AFC North titles, and many, many wins. And the bottom line was, we were always in contention with Mike, and, that's what counts. More than his accomplishments, Mike was a steady and respected leader, cared deeply about our players, our staff, and the whole Steeler organization. He represented the Steelers with class and dignity every single day. And on behalf of my family, everyone connected with the Steelers, I want to thank Mike and his family for being part of Steelers football for the last 19 years. We'll always be grateful. And now, obviously, we turn to our search for our next head coach. Omar and I will lead the search, and we'll rely on others in the organization to help as we go forward. So look forward to getting started with the search and starting with the next chapter of Steelers football. So,
open it up for questions. Or did you get any sense over the past couple of weeks, months, that Mike was possibly leaning in this direction, and it was his decision?
well, it was his decision, and I will say that I wasn't shocked, but I wasn't expecting that conversation yesterday either. There were, when you get to this stage of a career, obviously, he even mentioned it himself that he was nearer to the end than the beginning, and so, you could see that coming, and so, as I say, I can't say that I was shocked.
Would you have been willing to give Mike the
extension on his contract for 2027 in March, and did he ask for that?
No, I'm not going to get into his contract at this point. I was certainly willing to, take another run at it next year with Mike, and that's what I was expecting to talk about yesterday, but obviously went in a different direction.
Yeah, like I've said before, I've said this on Wax. I thought Mike Tomlin would have. I thought Mike Tomlin would have did 20 years with us. How many head coaches can say they did 20 years with one franchise? He tied up Chuck Noll for the most wins in franchise history. He just needed one to beat that. And if Mike Tomlin came back, I know Aaron Rodgers would have came back for another year. So all that, so Aaron Rodgers, that whole thing is up in air. I don't think Aaron Rodgers comes back. But if he does, I'm good with it because I liked Aaron Rodgers. I just feel like this draft, they got to go crazy on. They got first and foremost get an offensive lineman, left guard, left tackle potentially. Actually, Dylan Cook did great, so I would love to see like a swing tackle or one of those offensive linemen that you can plug in where there's a shortage. So yeah, offensive lineman, and immediately after that, we need a wide receiver. Immediately after that, we need linebackers and a cornerback. So we have the draft stock, we have the draft capital. So I thought he would have ran it back. I mean, shoot, people have known Coach T like their entire lives. They're talking 19 years. Let's say from the time somebody is 5, they know Mike Tomlin to be their coach. So they're like 24, right? All they've known is Coach T. Like, to have the draft in Pittsburgh, I really thought Coach T would have been coming back for the 20th season. I really thought that. But, yeah, no, it wasn't. He wasn't feeling it.
How long did that conversation last with Mike yesterday?
Probably 15, 20 minutes, something like that.
How long before the team meeting did he let you know that was going to be his plan?
I guess it was late morning or something like that.
Every year there's scrutiny and criticism that the coach faced, but may have reached a different level this year with the fire Tomlin change. Did you get a sense of talking with him how maybe the fan reaction or negativity may have influenced his decision?
I think that I'll leave it to him to explain to you someday what all went into his decision. I think that in my mind and the discussion we had, it was probably more of a family-related decision than a football-related decision. But as I say, I don't want to speak for Mike on that.
I mean, if you all remember, Bill Cowher, not saying nothing like that, but Bill Cowher, he walked away because it was family-related too. So it's just, I understand that, bro. At the end of the day, all you got is your family. All you got is those closest to you. You feel me? So yeah, you know what I mean? Yeah.
The timeline of getting another coach in your current scenario for you?
I don't want to put an exact time frame on it. We'll get started right away, and it'll take weeks at least, I would say. Nowadays there are a number of protocols we have to follow that are sort of really designed to slow the process down, and so as I say, it'll probably take at least a few weeks.
You guys haven't done this very often over the years, but you've had it tight.
That guy sounds just like Wolf. Wow. He sounds just like Wolf, bro.
Weeks.
You guys haven't done this very often over the years, but you've had it tight.
Rest in peace to Wolf, yo. Like living out of market for Steelers games, I really gravitated towards Steeler Nation Radio. Wolf and Tunch was the first show I kind of came across, and then Charlie Batch was like incorporated in the show over the years. I still listen to it. But yeah, Wolf and Tunch was like the first segment of Steeler Nation Radio that I heard. So yeah, man, and Wolf was like my pops that he grew up watching, like guys, Wolf. You feel me? Like the Steel Curtain. That was his era. That was how he came up with Steeler Nation. So yeah, man, that's crazy just to hear that guy's voice. It sounds like Wolf to me.
A few weeks.
You guys haven't done this very often over the years, but had it tight. Does young up-and-coming defensive coordinator still work as a blueprint, or once you expand that?
You know, for now, I don't want to sort of put any real parameters around it. We're going to, be an open book in terms of, who we look for and the, the list that we build. Yeah, could I sign up for another Chuck Noll or another Bill Cowher or another Mike Tomlin? Sure. Somebody that we feel fits that mold would be great, but for now, we're not going to kind of narrow the box too much.
I just think the NFL has changed. The Steelers have had a blueprint for so long. Sometimes when you've been doing something for so long, it's hard to change. I really feel like that's what the Steelers are in right now, the bubble the Steelers are in right now, because we've always known Pittsburgh to be great defenses. And the NFL has changed. Like, you have to have that crazy, like, weird balance that you have a defense that can take over some games, but you got the offense that can put up 60 points if they need to. Like, that's just what the league has turned into. It's even more entertaining than it once was. It's like the NBA when, before it was about running sets and running, and backdoor screens and getting guys open. Now they just shooting threes from the logo. Like, and that's what people want to see. I don't think the Rooney family is going to completely sell on that. I think they're going to find some kind of crazy balance, whether they have a true offensive head coach, like a truly offensively minded head coach, and have like a stud as a coordinator on defense, and they just work together. Because a lot of the issues this year was just scheme. It was just scheme. Whether you believe Mike Tomlin called the plays or not, it was scheme. We got out schemed, and the first, Steelers technically haven't had any firings so far. But the first two firings, respectfully, need to be Arthur Smith and Terrell Austin. Those are the facts. Those are the facts. So, yeah.
Along those same lines, what traits, what characteristics are important to this organization when you are looking for a new head coach?
I think there are a lot of things that go into being a successful head coach. Number one, really, I think in my mind is leadership, and really trusting that this person can stand up in front of your team day in and day out and hold their attention and have them motivated to do what they do. So, that's the most important.
Can you explain exactly what you left? Can you explain what you left on Mike's contract and how that will affect things moving forward? What you decided?
I'm not going to get into the contract today. I don't think that's necessary at this point.
Respect. And I've said this, like, if the Steelers move on from Mike Tomlin, I want it to be respectful. I've said that over and over and over again. I want it to be respectful. And the Steelers have done this with class. It's like being in a relationship with somebody for so long, and at some point you be like, it's just not working out. And the other person's like mutually accepts the fact that it's not working out. And you both just go your separate ways, like peacefully. I get those vibes from this. And whether he was pushed out or he made this decision on his own, that's speculation as well. I've heard those conversations. It don't matter. What matters is how it's presented. And Mike Tomlin is being honored. I really wish we could have had a farewell tour for Mike Tomlin. Which is why I was like, I really thought he was coming back next year. Like, I really thought. So for me, it's emotional because you didn't get a chance to say goodbye, for real. Like, it was just like, you just found out about it. And maybe that's Coach T being Coach T and Coach T's way. Because, he does things his way. But it would have been nice to give Coach T a farewell tour. Just out of respect. Like I said, it would have been 20 years. Man, that's a long time. That is a long time. Man, I think the average span for head coaches in the NFL is like 5 years, right? And 20 years, I mean, even 19 years. 19 years is crazy, bro. Like, so like I think as a fan of the Steelers, as a former Mike Tomlin apologist, it's nice to see the Steelers doing it with respect and class. That's really all you can ask for.
Are looked at being play callers, guys that are more heavily involved in the schematics. I know having that leader of the room is important, but how much is maybe having that intertwined into the decision making and the search to find that next CEO of your coaches?
I mean, look, as I said, there's a lot that goes into it, a lot of qualities that you look for, and obviously somebody that has the experience of doing what we need them to do is going to be key.
When you do this as infrequently as you have, it's been a long time. What do you remember about the search for Mike? How involved were you in that process? Is there anything that you remember from that time that is fresh in your mind as you go forward into this now?
Yeah, I mean, look, I've been involved in a number of searches, going back to Coach Cowher and obviously GM searches. And, I think when you start the search, I think if I've learned anything, it's to have an open mind. When we had Mike in for his first interview, certainly wasn't expecting that he was going to be our next head coach. And so I think you go through the process and be diligent and, hopefully you come out with the right guy.
Obviously, you were happy with the job that Mike was doing. You didn't necessarily expect that he was going to tell you he was leaving, but you also weren't surprised. With that in mind, have you had an eye or just looked around over the last couple of years of guys that could possibly be in line that you would be interested in interviewing if there was a head coach opening here?
Not really. Haven't spent a lot of time doing that, to be honest.
Yeah, he wasn't prepared. He wasn't prepared.
Obviously, he's still under contract. It could be compensation or trade. Is that something that did he indicate he might want to coach again? And would you be interested in something like that?
Mike indicated that he did not anticipate coaching, at least, in the near future. I think he wants to spend time with his family and do some of the kinds of things he hasn't been able to do for the last, many, many years. And so, if something like that comes up, we'll deal with it when it comes up. But right now, that doesn't seem to be on his radar.
All right. Could you kind of take us on maybe a day-to-day level with Mike?
Yeah, so that cancels that out. Like I was thinking, like if Mike Tomlin did go somewhere this year, like the Raiders or the Giants, they got the number 1 or number 5 pick. You know what I mean? And that rules that out. Sounds like Coach Tomlin is gonna take some time and spend some time with his family. And I mean, honestly, bro, as a man, you respect that. As somebody, whose family hasn't been the same since my grandmother passed away in 2011, I get that. Family is everything. Family is everything. And if your house ain't right, like not to say anything's wrong, but I'm just saying, like, if you just wanna, if you're, I've seen guys need to switch their shifts because they, they're not spending that much time with their wife because the work schedules are like opposite work schedules, and just something, just getting that right makes you right. It helps you get better. It helps you, be able to focus and do what you need to do as a man. But if something as simple as like we're always coming and going, we never see each other, like that can affect not only you but your spouse or your significant other. And if that's not where it needs to be, yeah, that can knock you off too. So yeah, like, yeah, spend time with your family. He got kids. Man, I don't know, but Mike Tomlin might have a grandchild or two. You know what I mean? Like, so, yeah, man, go spend time with your family, bro. Tomorrow's not promised, man. Go spend time with your family. Yeah, we're fans of the Steelers, but I am largely a fan of these guys, whether they're with the Steelers or not. I follow guys after they've long played for the Steelers. You know what I'm saying? I don't appreciate how Bush was in Aaron Rodgers' face, because I would have loved to see him, play good for us too. You know what I mean? But, I support these guys whether they with the Steelers or not. You know, I'm a fan of the game. I'm a fan of the game, and I wish whether people choose to come back or not, I wish them well. But the message is still, you were not bigger. No one is bigger than the logo. No one. No one. No one.
First of all, like, what are you going to miss most about the everyday interaction with him and just moving forward, not knowing that Mike T's not in the facility?
I mean, Mike was great to work with day in and day out. Just an incredible presence in the building. You know, someone that you walk into a meeting and, you know, discuss what needs to be done, and that's the plan. So no backtracking on things, no sort of hidden agendas, anything like that. Great to work with.
Would you anticipate anybody currently on Mike's staff being a candidate for his replacement, or is the idea maybe to start fresh with somebody outside the building?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. People talk about, oh man, I hate to see Arthur Smith or Terrell Austin to be the replacement head coach. Nah, bro. I don't see that happening one bit. But I'm gonna let Art Rooney II answer that question.
For his replacement, or is the idea maybe to start fresh with somebody outside the building?
You know, right now I don't think that anybody on our staff is a candidate. Maybe a candidate to stay on the staff, you know, depending on what the new head coach wants to do, but probably not as a head coach.
Exactly. Nah, bro. So that's you know what I'm saying? Like, people talking crazy on Instagram right now. Social media, period. Oh, yeah. You know what I'm saying? Y'all crying about Mike Tomlin, X, Y, and Z, but the Rooney family, what if they make Arthur Smith the new head coach? He's not doing that, bro. So that's one fear-mongering statement y'all can stop saying. Please stop saying it. You know what I'm saying? And honestly, I don't think we have a losing season next year. Call me crazy, but I don't think we have a losing season next year. And if it so happens that we win a playoff game next year, man, do you know how crazy that will be? You know what I'm saying? Because we have a good roster. The biggest complaint we had over the course of the year were schemes. It wasn't necessarily the players, it was the schemes. So you figure that out. You figure the schematics out. I feel like you got a chance. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, so we could put that to bed. We could put that to bed. Arthur Smith is not going to be the next head coach. And if Arthur Smith is not the next head coach, Terrell Austin don't have a shot and you know what to be the next head coach.
Art, in terms of that, with the new head coach, will you open that door for them to create a staff, or do you want to abandon that further?
No, that's, you know, a big part of, you know, the search for a new head coach is really understanding their ideas about the staff and who they would want to hire. So yeah, that's an important part of the discussion.
New coach, Art, I mean, will he have as much say in player personnel as Mike did, or will the dynamics and chain of command kind of shift a little bit?
You hear the question? Does he have enough say in player personnel as Coach Mike Tomlin did? So for all those people talking about Mike Tomlin is not the GM, that right there tells you right there, Mike Tomlin had 1,000% say on who was on his team and who wasn't. He wasn't the GM, but he had input. So, oh well, Mike, the GM didn't get a quarterback. That's on Mike Tomlin. The GM didn't get a wide receiver too. That's also on Mike Tomlin, because Mike Tomlin, he probably be like, "Yo, we're gonna roll with what we got. We got X, Y, and Z. We're gonna roll with it and figure it out later." So that doesn't absolve the GM, but that just says that Mike Tomlin is not like guilt-free in the decision-making for personnel when it comes to coaches or players. Like, he had you don't stay somewhere for 20 years and they don't listen to what you got to say. Knock it off, homie.
With how long Omar's been in his role.
Yeah, I don't think I anticipate really changing our structure or chain of command. I expect the new head coach, like Bill Cowher, like Mike Tomlin, like Chuck Noll, will be very involved in preparing for the draft. And He's
in the draft rooms, bro. Come on, man. Come on, man.
Like Mike Tomlin, Mike Chucknall will be very involved in preparing for the draft and working closely with Omar and his staff and making sure we're ready.
Art, I know you said you don't have a timeline, but is there a date that you kind of need a head coach by? Maybe like the combine or something like that?
I mean, if you have to put an outside date on it, certainly the combine would be nice to have one before then. Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
Plus, with a lot of the veteran players, do you foresee this maybe leading to a roster reset where you will get younger because of this? What happened?
Yeah, I think it's too early to say what effect it's going to have on the roster. That the new coach obviously is going to have a lot to say in that, and so we'll have that discussion when the time comes.
Art, following up on that, you guys have had a type of 3-4 defense, and then you guys have developed players around that identity. How much is that involved in your search? Is that something that you guys are prioritizing finding the coach, and then we'll figure out?
That sound like Chris. That sound like Chris.
Well, I think part of the discussion with candidates will be our roster and how they view our roster, what they would do with our roster, and making sure we're all comfortable with that plan.
Mike had, he listed Mike's numerous accomplishments, the Super Bowls. He also had the streak of
That sound like Cassidy.
Winning the playoffs the last 7 years. How do you kind of characterize the Mike Tomlin era of the Pittsburgh Steelers?
It's been a winning era. As I said before, always in contention. So I think when you start with that, you have the opportunity to take the next step. I can't explain kind of the more recent history there. It's hard to explain given the overall track record. Frustrating for all of us, mostly for Mike, but all in all, I'll take being in contention every year and having a shot at it.
Do you get a sense that the recent history, that lack of playoff success was something that had been weighing on Mike and factored into his decision?
I can't say. Again, I'd leave it to Mike to kind of talk about what factored into his decision. I've already said, to me, it was more a family decision than a football decision. So I'll leave it at that.
You mentioned a couple times about saying it every year had a chance. There's a school of thought. A lot of people say, tear it down, build it back up. Or get a high draft pick. That seems to be a big talking point amongst media and fans and everything. Do you disagree with that philosophy? Do you rather be every year right there?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure why you waste a year of your life and not trying to contend.
Right.
Obviously, your roster is what.
Steelers have never tanked. I don't foresee the Steelers ever tanking. So, yeah, we're not wasting a year to tank for a better pick. Like, I like that answer.
You waste a year of your life and not trying to contend. Obviously, your roster is what it is every year. It changes every year, and so you deal with what you have every year and try to put yourself in position to compete every year. And sometimes you have the horses, sometimes you don't. But I think you try every year.
Yep.
As a team president, as the head of the organization, where you have your most valued employee telling you that he just wants to resign, do you try to talk him out of it?
I did not. I mean, he was pretty clear about what his intentions were, and so I think we had a great conversation, and I understood where he was.
I know you like Mike beyond just being a good football coach. I mean, like when he was talking about the reasons for it, you said you weren't shocked. You were surprised you had the conversation, but you weren't shocked. Why? What had you seen? What did you sense that you weren't shocked that he made this call?
I mean, just a sense. I mean, I'm not sure I can get into a lot of details with you on it, but just again, when you're going into 18, 19 years of a career like this, he said it himself. He knows it's not going to go forever. So I mean, I think we all knew that we were getting toward the end.
I know the standard is the standard.
I don't know if I like that answer. I don't know if I like that answer. He was doing a little bit of dancing. He was two-stepping. I don't really like that answer. But I think over time, we will get the answer to that question.
Been a motto around here from Tomlin for a long time. What are you going to express to the new coach of what the standard is here in Pittsburgh?
Standard is to try to compete to win a championship every year.
Art, that being said, it's an unusual position. Usually teams are looking for coaches because it hasn't gone well. This is sort of not that case. Is the expectation of whoever comes in that you guys should expect to be in contention right away?
Like I said, I'm not going to say, well, we're going to take a couple years to figure this out, and then we'll try to compete. So I think you try every year. I mean,
right.
And as I said, some years you have the horses to really get there. Some years you don't. but you try every year, in my view.
Or do you think this impacts Aaron Rodgers at all?
Yeah, I mean, look, Aaron came here to play for Mike, so I think it will most likely affect his decision.
You mentioned horses. How important is it, to find, you look at the quarterbacks left in the playoffs, I mean, 7 of the 8 are first-round guys. How important is that still on the priority list, regardless of who the coach is when you get to the free agency and the draft?
I'm sure the quarterback position will be an important part of this discussion with the candidates, and we'll have to develop a plan for going forward.
Two more. Art, you said leadership was number one quality you look for in a head coach. How about innovation? How important is it for this coach to be innovative, not just in X's and O's, but also how you guys scout, how you guys prepare for every course?
I think every coach I'm sure we talk to will have a little different idea of his approach, and it'll be interesting to hear from people about that. And you always learn something during this interview process. So it'll, like I said, it'll be interesting to hear maybe different perspectives on how to approach it.
Our last one here.
With this change, do you expect this to be a total rebuild?
I don't. No, I don't know. It's a rebuild. I mean, it's a new coach, so there will be changes, and we'll have to all get comfortable with kind of the plan. So, whether you call it a rebuild or not, I don't like that word that much. We'll try to compete day one if we can.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
It's interesting, man. But I do like a couple things that he did say. We're not tanking. Like, they coming back next year trying to win the AFC North Division again. And if that means a playoff win, cool. If it means more, great. But we ain't succeeding to nothing. You know what I'm saying? And that statement alone tells you that, bro, like, Mike Tomlin is not the logo. So some people might hear that and they might think it's being disrespectful. It's not. Because a football environment, any team environment, everyone is taught that you are not bigger than the logo. You're part of the team. You're part of the environment that cultivates, you know what I'm saying, the strength, and that cultivates, like, what it is you want to be about as an organization. Sorry, my dog is in here and she wants to be seen, so I'm giving her pets. So yeah, but it's not to be disrespectful at all. But yeah, it was a decent presser. They did it. They had to do it. He did dance around a couple questions at the end there. But like I said, I think we get the answer to those questions over time. But for now, it's your boy Boomy, man. I didn't talk y'all head off enough. If you like the content, if you like the objectiveness, please like, comment, and subscribe. Turn those notifications on. And I got more content coming for you. We're dialed up to have a crazy off season, so I'm really, really looking forward to being plugged in, being tapped in, and just passing along information, having conversations with you all. I'm gonna be on the break room. We're gonna have the Fan Talk Fridays, and we're gonna just stay active as a nation, because this summer we got a lot going on. I mean, we already had the draft coming up, but now we got the draft. We got head coach openings. Looks like it's gonna be coordinator positioning openings, position coaches openings. So it's gonna be a lot of stuff. Free agency signings, trades, for picks and people that don't want to be in Pittsburgh no more. Will Aaron Rodgers come back? That's the greatest mystery. You know what I'm saying? So it's gonna be a lot to talk about, a lot to get into. So I need you all to plug in with me, tap in with me, man, and let's go do this, man. I appreciate each and every one of you for rocking out with me, man. It's still a nation, man. It's still a nation, man. Pay attention to those that want to see us do bad. I'm talking within the fan base, because they were never fans. You know what I'm saying? I want to see the Steelers do good with or without Mike Tomlin. I wanted to see the Steelers do good with or without Bill Cowher. Like, that was never a topic of conversation. I want to see the Steelers do good, period. And if people talking about and getting like basing their voice or getting happy about the fact that we're going to have a losing season, or they think we're going to have a losing season, they were never a fan. So, but it's your boy Booming, man. We are still booming, okay? You know what I'm saying? We're going to tap in on the next one. I'm going to holler at y'all. Peace.
Booming in the morning, booming in the evening, 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 booming in the